Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Big Bold You, a show that was created to help each and every one of you out there to play bigger in your life. And that means you have to think bigger first. You can never outperform your thoughts, I promise you. You can test me on that theory. We're going to be talking a lot about that today. We want to also help you be bolder, which means you do have to step out of your comfort zone. You've got to do things that you are scared to do, that you might not even want to do, or you might not believe you can do, but I promise you that you can. You can't do it by yourself. Success happens with a group of people. You got to surround yourself with amazing, great people. And so that's what I do every week, as I have an incredible person that comes on the show. This week is no different. And we want to inspire you through our journey, through our stories, through our struggles, our ups and downs, because I promise you, I can tell you from experience, we have experienced the same thing that each and every one of you have experienced, and we want to make sure that you become the best version of you. I believe that we live in a world where there is a war between good and evil, and the only way evil wins is when good people don't do enough. So here is an incredible guest I'm so excited to introduce. A wonderful person, just inside and out, a good friend of mine, and also a client. His name is Aaron Jackson, and what we are going to be talking about today is a topic that's really near and dear to both of our hearts, and that is expand your mind, expand your life. So let's welcome Aaron to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You're
Thank you for
always,
having me.
listen, you're always so happy,
That's you. I mean, I say the same thing about you.
But listen, happiness is a strategy. It's a strategy
Yeah.
because you get to choose every day how you're going to be. And I think that's probably one of the most important choices that you make every day is choosing happy.
Yeah.
And believe me, there's some days where it's hard, but you do it anyway.
Definitely.
But tell everybody a little bit about who you are and how we met.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Aaron Jackson. I'm a commercial real estate broker, retail commercial real estate broker. Work with a lot of food, beverage companies, mainly restaurants. I mean, I've done a number of things, office work, industrial, but my passion came with retail just because I felt like a lot of the retail owners that I would meet, we kind of had the same story. A
Right.
lot of retail guys, they worked really hard to get where they were, to get their stores up to where it is, and they don't really care. They're not pretentious. As long as you can
Right.
provide a service, they'll work with you. Yeah.
Well, I think too that you were an athlete growing up. And, for those of you who don't know me, my dad was a professional athlete growing up. And I'm all about being very active because I think it's so important. And I think there's something in the realm of athletics that it teaches you perseverance. It teaches you hard work. Listen, you're not always the star, but you're not always supposed to be the star. And it's teamwork. And even in individual sports, you're still involved in a team. You've got a common goal. There's ups and downs. And I think that, I don't know about you, but to me, when you're on a team, it's not about me, it's about we, and it's about what we can accomplish together. So I don't know, I'm always more attracted to people that are just really down to earth. And like you said, not pretentious because
Yeah.
look, everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I know you've been in commercial real estate for a while, but you've been in real estate for a while.
Yeah, I got my license when I was 31, maybe 32, but I knew the path that I wanted to take. I knew immediately that I wanted to be in commercial real estate. I knew before getting my license that I wanted to be in commercial real estate. Just having an uncle that was in commercial finance growing up, I didn't know what he did. I just knew it was in commercial real estate, and it was like, that's what I want to do.
Right.
So for me, when I got my license, I just found the first place I could hang it and went and knocked on doors. That was literally the first job they told me. I sat at my desk. They said, okay, this is what I need you to do. I need you to go to every building downtown, knock on the door, introduce yourself. I said, okay. And they didn't expect me to come back with any business. It was just about learning how to, communicate, right?
But see, don't you think that that's another benefit from being involved in organized sports? Is because when you're in sports, you've got a coach, and a coach tells you to go do something, and if you're smart, you go do it.
Right.
But you know how many people resist advice? What I love about you is you are so coachable, and you don't resist. I mean, there are a lot of people, I promise you, I don't know, you tell me out there, but I think there's some people that if they would have gotten that advice, go knock on doors and go introduce yourself, they would have left the office, but I don't know if they would have gone knocked on the doors. They would have gotten in their car. They would have said you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it's true, but you really did go out there and you knocked on doors.
Oh, yeah. I still have the left shoe and the worn down heel to prove that I was walking around downtown daily, knocking on doors. I literally knocked on probably 85% of the doors downtown.
That's so awesome, Aaron.
And the only reason I didn't do 100 is because I got kicked out of a couple buildings for soliciting. Some of
Right,
those
they
buildings
said you
have-
can't do that.
Yeah, and they told me, okay, so if you get kicked out, or if you see security, go down to a different floor and just start over.
Yeah.
So, okay. And like you said, it's from coaching. I mean, if your coach tells you, hey, run down the field, stop at 12 yards and turn around. He's telling you that because he sees something and he's done it before and
Right.
he's been doing it. And if you
Exactly.
listen, you'll catch the ball and be open and you'll get a first down.
I mean, I'm telling you right now that one of the best pieces of advice that I can give to anybody is, and you talked a little bit about it already. Number one, when you identify a leader, which you identified in your uncle, and you said to yourself, that's what I want to do, you just go to that person and you ask them, how do I do it? And then you just do whatever it is they say. So, I mean, kudos to you, because first of all, you got to identify real leaders. Then you've got to ask them questions. You've got to, when we talk about the title of our show today, expand your mind, expand your life. You can't expand your mind by yourself. You just can't do it. I mean, you are where you are because of the choices and decisions that you've made in your life. All of us are.
Yeah.
But to be able to expand our mind even more, we've got to talk to people that have done more, are doing more, and we got to read. I mean, you got to read. You got to go to conventions. You got to meet people. You got to talk, and you got to listen. You got to listen. So, I want to talk specifically about your personal journey on you expanding your mind and how you making that decision, what you did, because action happens afterwards, and then how your life has expanded, because that's really the order in which it happens. First you make a decision. So what can you tell us, can you remember some of the decisions that you've made?
Oh yeah, I would say so. Right before I met you, I wouldn't say things were spiraling out of control, but they were spiraling, right? And that's usually when you make a decision.
Right.
When the plane starts spinning, you got to figure something out. So when I met you, I was invited to the eWomen Network event by Lindsay Birch, a good friend of mutual friend. And she was like, you got to come to this event. We were talking about Google Ads,
Right.
because at the time, I was independent. I was by myself. I was, I think I was doing okay, but I didn't have the what do you want to call it? Platform
Right.
to do more. Right. And that was the frustration for me. And that's why I was looking into Google Ads and how do I get more exposure? So and Lindsay invites me to the event. You get up, well, first the Google lady gets up there and she starts talking. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's interesting. And then you get up there and like you blow the house down. And I was like, I gotta meet this. I gotta meet this lady. You're like the most positive person I've ever met. I told our engineer here earlier today. I said, Jens and Melissa are the most positive people I've ever met, and he agreed.
Yeah.
But after you blew it down, got off the stage, for me, it was, like you said, about hitching, to those wagons. And I always tell people this, and I'll never forget it. Your first words to me were, I'm a winner, and I win. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I don't know who this lady is, but I want to work with her.
Well, here's the thing is the really neat thing is whether people realize it or not, every person has a switch in their brain. It's a switch in your subconscious mind that once you turn that switch on, you win at everything you do. And first of all, it's understanding that you have the switch. And number two, it's turning it on and knowing how to turn it on. But once you turn it on, you will never turn it off. And once you turn it on, and that's like what we were talking about, is you expand your mind because people don't know that. First and foremost, people don't realize that you have the success switch, the winning switch in your brain. Every person does. Why? I always take it back to, anything that you've seen somebody else do, you can do too. You just have to put in the same amount of work. So you look at any entertainer, you look at any professional athlete, you look at any business person that's successful, you look at anybody that's done anything. And if you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to commit to doing the same amount of work that person did, you're going to have the same amount of success.
Yeah.
I mean, but people don't realize that. And the other thing I think is people don't realize how much work other people have put into it.
I think that's the biggest part, is that people don't realize what that other person did or went through to get to where they were. And, for me, I mean, I've had my challenges, my ups and downs, and I've had really big commissions and I've had really little commissions.
Right.
I had no commissions. But at the same time, I mean, I had a vision and a path. And so a friend of mine, when I first started, Armenian guy, Lev Narayan, he's an executive at Ericsson. We both lived in the same building. He was a neighbor when I stayed downtown. I said, Lev, hey man, I just got my real estate license, blah, blah, blah. I'm going into commercial. And he was like, oh man, that's great. The one piece of advice I give you is don't quit. I don't care what happens, just don't quit, because over time in a high turnover business, as long as you're the person who's outlasted everyone, you become the expert by default.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And it's one of the things that my dad always said to me is 95% of the people in this world are never going to try to win. They're not even trying. They're just existing and they're drifting. They think somebody else is in control of their life. In reality, they're in control of their life, but they've given that control over to other people. So 95% of the people aren't even in the race. You've got 5% of the people that are in the race, and 2.5% will quit. So the odds are always in your favor to win everything, anything, because you can't quit, like you said. And it takes a minute to learn everything.
It does. So I have a story about that as well. So when I first started, people were telling me, hey, it's going to take you, 5 to 7 years to know what you're doing. And I'm like, yeah, right. I'll have this down in, 2 tops.
Right.
Now, had I known it would take as long as it did, would I made the same decision? I don't know, probably, because I have passion for it. But it's taken exactly what they told me it would to get to where I want to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what I say is success happens in decades. And the reason I say that is because I want people to have an accurate perception, because to me, life is about managing expectations. I mean, for me personally, because my master's degree is in training and development, and I managed people, I led teams, I trained people, I taught systems, I created systems. that's what leaders do, right?
Hmm.
And what I realized is if you help manage people's expectations accurately,
Hmm.
they perform better because they know what to expect. So I always say, listen, if somebody asks me to go hiking with them, and I
Hmm.
said, okay, well, what do I expect? And they said, okay, it's going to be an hour. An hour, we're going to hike an hour. Come dressed, prepared for hiking for an hour. Okay, I'm gonna be dressed and prepared to hike for an hour.
Hmm.
Now, if I got there and then the game and the rules were changed and they said we're gonna hike for 8 hours, I'm gonna be mad at you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna I'm gonna be mad at you because I didn't prepare for 8 hours. I
Right.
prepared for one.
Hmm.
And so my experience has been with people is if you just tell people the truth
Hmm.
and you're honest with people and you say, listen, success happens in decades. So you're going to start, and I say, just work your ass off with your head down for 5 years before you even look up,
Hmm.
but you got to hitch your wagon to real leaders. You've
Hmm.
got to put in the time, you got to put in the work. And also too, I think, you've got to build yourself. You got to build character. You got to build the skills. You've got to build the grit. You can't expect to just go out and say, "Oh, hey world, here I am." It just
Hmm.
doesn't work that way. I mean, it doesn't work that way. You got to put in the time and that's what I think about when we're talking about expanding your mind. So,
Hmm.
when we met in October, you were ready. I didn't know things were in your mind spiraling, but to your point, that's really when most people say, I need to make some new decisions.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because when things are going really great,
Hmm.
first of all, nothing lasts forever.
Right.
So things can be going amazingly great. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to last. Okay. It doesn't, and that's one of the things that I'm not a pessimist. I'm a realist, but I'm
Hmm.
also an optimist.
Hmm.
So, put that all in a shake and blend it, right? But, there have been times when, I mean, oh my gosh, with my husband, things have been going amazingly well,
Hmm.
whether it's financial, whatever. And I'm like, okay, we got to prepare for the worst. We got to prepare for the worst. And he's
Hmm.
like, what do you mean? I mean, everything's wonderful and great. I'm like, it's not going to always be that way, you know? But, so you're at a place in your life at that time, and it was last October. It was
Hmm.
just a year ago.
Yeah.
But you were ready. You
Hmm.
were you were so hungry
Hmm.
and ready to expand your mind. But I know that you'd had to have done preparation even before the time we met. Because when you and I met, you were like, I'm ready to do whatever it is I need to do.
Hmm.
And one of the first books I gave you to read was Think and Grow Rich.
Right.
And that really changed your life.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, was there preparation? I wouldn't say there was preparation, but I would say that there was determination. And I would say that I knew where I was at and I knew where I wanted to be. And I knew I couldn't get over that wall by myself. Right. And I think that at some point you realize I can't do it by myself. And I think that's a good thing. You feel like it's a bad thing when it happens, but when you finally realize that you have to expand your mind and expand your life essentially, that's how you get over the hump. Someone has to pull you over.
Right.
You know.
Because most people are so prideful, they
Hmm.
don't realize it, but
Hmm.
they're so prideful that they think they have to do it all. And
Hmm.
if they aren't doing it all, then they're a failure.
Yeah,
Well, in
I was
reality,
one of those.
yeah,
Yeah.
but in reality, you do have to do all the work,
Hmm.
but you don't have to be the one to know it all. You've got to go to the people that do know it all.
Hmm.
Then they're going to, nobody knows it all, but people that know more,
Right.
and then they're going to tell you what to do, and then you're going to do it instead of you trying to figure it out on your own.
Hmm.
You have no idea how many times I've told my son Brady this. And my son Bryce too, which both of them.
Hmm.
But Brady will sit there and he'll try to do everything on his own, and I'm like, son, listen, let us help you. Let us help you. We want to help you. No, we're not going to do the work, obviously, but that's the other thing too, is successful people do want to help other people.
Mm-hmm.
If they know you're hungry and like you said, you're determined,
Mm-hmm.
they want to see other people succeed because they've been exactly where you've been
Yeah.
and they had somebody help.
Mm-hmm.
Then something that you said, talking about you can't do it by yourself, it made me think of, that scripture or the scriptures, and don't ask me where it is in the Bible, but I know it is in there. But it talks about how, the arm can't do everything by itself, the
Mm-hmm.
leg can't do everything by itself. Your body has all these different parts and they work in unison to be able
Mm-hmm.
to do all the things that they do.
Yeah.
And that's how we are. Even the 7 habits of highly effective people, the first 3 habits are about yourself. But
Mm-hmm.
the last 4 habits are how you interact with other people, because our goal in life is to become interdependent.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to become interdependent, you have to be independent.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, dependent are what our kids are. When our
Right.
kids are little,
Mm-hmm.
they look to us to do everything for them, and then we teach them independence.
Mm-hmm.
But the highest level of operating in life is interdependence, which means you're independently strong and have all this great value. I'm independently strong and have all this great value. And then together we're stronger.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't have a dependent person with an independent person, or you can't, it doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
So the last 4 habits that Stephen Covey says you got to work on is how we work together, and seek to understand first,
Mm-hmm.
then seek to be understood. Seek win-win outcomes. It's
Right.
not, it's so it's you get over that hump. But I think, it was so much fun watching you get out over that hump, man, because you are soaring. And it's a blast to see. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a blast to see you do that. But what were some of the lessons that you learned in Think and Grow Rich, and what are some of the lessons that you've learned from us, Dave and I?
Um, Lessons from you and Dave. I would say that one of the most important things that I've learned is, like you said, the interdependency. And I've watched you guys and your yin and yang, and how
Because
you work
because we're
together.
because we're very different. You got
Very,
to show the
very
picture of
different.
us all together. Yeah,
Yeah, and so one of the things I've learned is, looking at you and all the people that you touch, in that picture
right.
there, I wanted to show that picture to, highlight the importance of diversity and friendship, and how, when you're involved with people from all different parts of the world, all different lifestyles, all different, walks of life, you're able to, like you said, understand, everything,
Right.
right? And so, from having that diversity and friendship, I feel like it allows me to go into any room and be able to, engage with anyone. And I would say that that's probably the biggest thing for me is just learning from you how to light up a room.
Well, you
I
do a
thought I
good
was okay
job. You
until
do a
I met
great
you.
job.
I'm nowhere near as good at it as you are. I think I'm
No,
okay, but
I think you're amazing. But you know where I think that comes from? I think it comes from when you sincerely love people and you sincerely want people to be happy. And you know that everybody has the power to be happy, and maybe not everybody realizes that yet. So going in and just pouring into people, because I don't believe you can grow to your fullest potential unless you're in an environment of love. And it was crazy. I don't know if I even told you this, but in September, one of our family members took their life by suicide, so died by suicide. And
okay. I
it
don't think I knew
just,
that.
it kills you because you think, what were they thinking? Why did they do that? We would, we loved you, and how could we have helped you?
Hmm.
And I just think of every person that we see, you don't know the inner struggle they're going through.
Right.
You don't know what is happening in their life. You don't know the demons that they're dealing with in
Hmm.
their head. And
Yeah.
believe me, that's where it all starts. It all starts in the self-talk and what's people are saying to themselves in their head. And so I just think, gosh, if I'm going to encounter somebody, then I want them to feel good about themselves after they leave my presence. I
Hmm.
just, it's important to me. I
Yeah.
mean, but I think you do that. I really do. But that's to me where it comes from. And, it's that light because good grief, there's some people that live in some dark times,
Oh yeah, there's definitely some dark people out here, and
Hmm.
for me, I think maybe I've always like loved people, and even been like in high school and in younger times, been protective of people I didn't even know.
Right.
If it was just a wrong situation,
I'm the
I would
same
step
way.
in and be like, hey man, leave him alone. He
Hmm.
ain't doing nothing to you.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's just kind of always who I've been.
Right.
And even when I see homeless people today, I don't, I'll speak to them. I look them in the eyes and
Uh-huh.
I say, "Hey, how are you doing?"
Right.
No, I don't have anything for you
Right.
today, but hope you have a nice day.
No.
And they appreciate the dialogue
Oh, right.
because people usually won't even make eye contact with them.
Listen to this story. So, first of all, people that are homeless on the street, you have no idea why they're on the street.
Hmm.
And I mean, there are a lot of people on the street that are dealing with mental illness,
Hmm.
and their family does not have the financial means to take care of them and help them, and they've landed on the streets.
Hmm.
There are people that obviously have addiction issues and they're on the streets. There's so many reasons, but to your point, they're just the same as everybody else. I mean,
Hmm.
we're all equal,
Hmm.
whether you realize it or not. We're all equal. We're just at different places in our journey.
Hmm.
And my dad, being a professional tennis player, one day I was younger, and we were in the car, we were driving, and we were passing a homeless person, and my dad stopped, went, addressed this man by his name,
Hmm.
put him in the car because it was a ex-professional tennis player that my dad had played tennis with that had mental health issues
Hmm.
and had landed himself on the street. And, we went and we got him food, had him over to our house, take a shower, get him dressed, cleaned
Hmm.
up. And that's probably one of the biggest gifts I think my dad taught me was
Hmm.
we're all created equal. And it doesn't matter what your circumstances are, you know, and it's crazy if you went and talked to some of these people on the streets. I mean, there are some people on the streets that were living it up
Right.
at one point in their
Yeah,
lives,
definitely, for sure.
and
For
things
sure.
happened, and there they are. So I love that you said that, because we got to treat everybody as equal, because we all are,
Yeah, for sure. But just to kind of get back on the, expanding your mind and I guess get back on topic, um, I would say that part of being, working with you and being around you and Dave and other people in the eWomen network and, me expanding who I spoke to and dealt with after meeting you guys helped me get to where I'm at now with Advisors Commercial Real Estate. And that's really my first time being, I guess, in a collaborative, environment when it comes to working. And I think it's, I had been, trying to find it for about 5 years before I got there. I meet you and start, working with you and Christy, and we're reading Think and Grow Rich, and we're skiing, and we're just having camaraderie, and like you said, being in an environment of love. I think that's why the opportunity finally did present itself,
Oh, for sure.
just because of that environment of love and expanding my mind and expanding my reach. When you expand your mind, you expand your reach.
100% you do.
Hmm.
And you've got some really cool pictures that I want to show, because they're symbolic of accomplishments and part of your journey.
Hmm.
So let's look at some of those pictures and just explain what's going on.
Yeah, so that was my first retail commercial real estate conference out at in LA. And so part of the conference was the last day they gave anybody who wanted, a tour of the new LA Rams stadium being built. And so at first they were like, no pictures, blah, 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 all this stuff. But then once we got up to the top, they were okay. You guys can go ahead and take some pictures, and so that was the hard hat tour of the LA Rams Stadium, which is going to be amazing. They said their goal when they were building it was just to make it better than Jerry's World. As long as it's better than Jerry's World,
I don't
they
know if
were
they're going to be
okay.
able to do that.
That was
Hey,
their goal.
I don't know if they're going to be able to beat Jerry Jones because Jerry Jones has got it going on.
So Jerry is actually part of that stadium. So
Well,
even so, the ticket
okay.
sales is through Legends,
Okay.
that Jerry Jones owns, and
All
so
right.
he's definitely in the mix
Well,
when it
if
comes
his
to that
hand is
stadium.
involved in it, then
Yeah.
okay, I can believe it because what Jerry does is amazing. And this is what I think is so cool is, isn't it awesome to be at that place where you see things being created and built?
Yeah.
Because, you think about it when you're a kid, you create things. I mean, whether it's with your building blocks or Legos or you're drawing or whatever, and you're just creating and it's just awesome. But in reality, what we're supposed to be doing is taking that creativity and the no limits and expanding our mind and creating really in real time and in real life. And when you're in that environment, it had to have been just like awe inspiring being at that stadium and just seeing the enormity of the project, but realizing, well, gosh, I can be a part of all of this too.
Exactly.
You
That
know?
was definitely awe inspiring, and just listening to the engineers talk about what they're doing with the roof and how it's going to come together, and so I can't remember the amount of pounds of force that were in these cables. I mean, but
Right.
these were like the biggest cables in the world. And the way that they lift the translucent roof that they're going to have is it's really slow, and it's because the cables are so heavy that if they snapped, it would literally like rip through the stadium.
Oh my gosh.
And so they tension it just really slow, and it just eventually lifts everything up to where it's flat.
Right.
But just seeing stuff like that and,
Right.
and hearing from, some of the top engineers in the world and things like that, explain to me and other people on this tour, what they're doing, was definitely inspiring.
Right. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Now, what's another picture that you got there?
Yeah, so that was before the tour, and they had the virtual reality,
Experience there.
yeah, for the stadium. So that's me looking as if I was watching a game at the new Ram Stadium, SoFi Stadium. And that was pretty cool. And so, I mean, as you can see, that conference was huge. I think that's Simon, their booth in the back. And Simon is the mall developer,
Right, right.
on
Oh, yeah,
North Park
right.
and all the biggest malls in the country. And so just being able to walk up to those guys, and they have the same respect for me because I'm in the same event. Right?
Exactly.
And so just to be able to walk up to those guys and have the confidence, and wherewithal to just have that conversation, not to get business, just to introduce myself. Hey, I'm Aaron. I'm from Dallas. I go to North Park Mall. Blah blah blah. It was just good to be able to expand myself
Right.
into an entirely different market where I know absolutely no one, and I was actually able to come back with some business. So
Right. Well,
it was great.
The thing that you're saying over and over and over again, and I want to emphasize is the action. That what you did, what you're doing is you are going, you're meeting people, you're doing things, you're connecting with people. And in fact, what was so funny too was last January when we had a one-on-one session, and I said in February, let's do something you've never done before. And you just said, or maybe it was December, but anyway, it was one of those months. And you said, I've never been snow skiing before. I wish we had a picture of that.
I know I should.
Well, I wish we would have had a picture of that. And I said, well, we're going snow skiing next month. And so I said, come with us. And you went. And it was so cool because, listen, it is not hard. I mean, it is hard. It is not easy snow skiing and learning that as an adult. And of course, it's
Yeah.
easy as can be to learn it when you're a kid, But as an adult, it's challenging, especially being a bigger guy. And I'm telling you, it was not easy, but you kept going and you kept going. And then you even told me recently, you're like, I'm ready to go back.
Oh yeah.
we'll
And
go
I
back.
remember as soon as we got out of the car, I remember telling you guys, yeah, I don't want to go to the bunny slopes. Take me to the top. I'm an athlete. I don't need to start at the bottom. And y'all are like, okay.
Uh-huh. Right.
And so we get up there, and I immediately fall off the lift. And Dave has to hold my hand all the way down the mountain. But it was still a great
Right.
experience, and it was still very fun. And even in that moment, Dave is the most patient person I've ever met to work with me to get down that mountain like that. And it was he was stern and he was helpful. But you say he's not going to do the work for you.
Right,
He's
right.
not going to help. He's like, hey, just lean over this way. Push up, and you can get up. You got it. No, I don't have to help you. You got
Right.
it. And going through that experience, it just kind of changed my outlook on how to approach things. I felt like if I can get down this mountain, with Dave's help, and just looking at how he helped me get down without really helping me get down, it just showed me how to really communicate things in a way that aren't combative,
Right.
or aggressive, and some people think you have to be aggressive to get your message across, and you don't.
Right. I just think it's such a great life lesson because, first of all, you got to do things that you really don't know how to do. And you can wait until you know exactly how to do it, but you're going to be waiting a long time. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, that's a fact. So you have to say to yourself, I'm going to do something that I really don't know how to do. And I'm going to find the people to help me do it. And you really, in my opinion, because believe me, I learned how to ski as an adult too, but it was in college.
Okay.
And I can remember being at the top of this mountain. Now, my advice is to always take a lesson first. So I took a lesson,
I would advise that too.
I mean, I took my lesson the first half of the day, but I can remember like the second day, I was on this blue run, and it was on a run that I shouldn't have been on because it was a more advanced blue run. And I needed someone to help me get down. And actually, what had happened was really we had gone to the back side of the mountain, and most of the blues were closed because of weather. So we actually did have to get on a black. And I had to have somebody's help, like you were saying. There's no way in the world I could get down. And believe me, it got to a point where I really did get on my butt and just bop, bop, bop down all the moguls. But that was because the person that was helping me, I mean, that's what it led to. I mean, it was like, it got to a point where it was like, okay, you're not going to be able to make these moguls. Just get on your ass and just and just slide on down. And that's what I did. But it's the same thing that what I love about those experiences, which is why I think it's so important that we take our kids on experiences like that, is because anything that you get through that's hard and difficult, you realize, to your point, well, if I can do that, then I can do something else that's hard and
Right.
difficult. And if I can do that, then I can do something else that's hard and difficult. And if I can do that, because that's really the truth. And it really takes us to our Ask Jen's question for the day and the week, which is, we're gonna pull that Ask Jen's question up. And as we're waiting to get that pulled up, really, if you've got an Ask Jen's question, please reach out. But what's the best way to accomplish a goal? Number one is to write it down. You've got to write your goals down. If you're thinking about them, they're just thoughts, they're pie in the sky. We want you to be able to achieve those things. So make it a reality by writing it down. Number two, you're going to write down all the steps that you can think of that you need to do to accomplish the goal. And before you even start and begin, you're going to find somebody that has done what it is you're trying to do and talk with them. But make sure you've done your work first. Collaborate, make that list, and then start to do the most important things first. Believe me, I am a master planner. It's one of the things I love doing, and you can accomplish every goal that you set your mind to, that you write down, that you have a plan, and you just keep doing. So, here it is in October,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of October. What I do is every October, I start my own personal planning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do this with my mastermind and I do this with my clients. In August, we write our vision statement. In September, we do our financial review. You always have to do your plan, do, and review. You need to know what your financial health is, because your question to everything you want to do is, your first question you got to answer is, what's your budget? It's like, and your budget is going to determine what it is that you can do.
Right.
um
And what you
but
can't do.
and what you can't do.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that you can do, even with marketing, if your budget's just a little bit, you can do something.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to make big goals and plans if you can't accommodate that. There's a lot of things you got to do to expand your mind. And to close up, because we only have about a minute here, what do you think has been the most important thing you've done to expand your mind over the last year and beyond?
Definitely, I would say read more for sure. You mentioned the seven. What is it?
Seven
Seven
Habits of
highly.
Highly
So yeah,
Effective
I have
People.
that book in my briefcase right now because I'm on chapter 2. I've been reading some books about marketing and things like that, but mainly just reading and
Right.
really, it's about what you're listening to and what you're reading.
Right, I agree,
Yeah.
100%. I say your biggest ROI is reading. Your second biggest ROI is associating yourself with great people, listening to awesome content, which is what you've been doing today. And if anything we said that lifted you up, that spurred your interest, that made you think a little bit differently, or made you assess where you are, if we did any of that, please let us know. Please share the podcast, subscribe to the Jens Johnson YouTube channel, and let us know if you're interested in appearing on the show, if you got to ask Jen's question, if there's anything that we can do. Aaron, I want to say thank you so much for appearing. And I also
Yeah.
want
Thank
to
you for
give you the
having me.
opportunity of, if somebody's interested in contacting you
hmm
and for whatever need, how is the best way for them to do that?
The best way, there's a couple different ways. You can email me at aaron.jackson@advisorscommercialre.com. You can find me on Facebook. I think it's Ask Aaron Jackson. That's my LinkedIn as well. I'm pretty social. And so anybody that has any need for commercial property, whether it's to lease or to buy, feel free to reach out.
And until we meet
That's one
again,
of my properties I have for sale now,
I know.
in a redeveloping area, and that's what I like most about it is just being able to affect change.
Right. And it's amazing. I love all of it. So you will be in good hands going to Erin Jackson for any of those needs. And if I can help in any way, please let me know as well. So until we meet again on the next Big Bold You show, be big, be bold, and most importantly, be you. Bye bye.